Okay. So I just gotta get myself into it because I guess I don't have intros yet, so I don't know how I'm gonna. Cause I'm trying to think if somebody was to listen to it right now for the first time, like this is me warming up, trying to figure out whatever. I need a good intro. No, I don't feel like I have to have an intro. I feel like there should be something I say just to start off the podcast. Yeah. So here we go. All right, welcome to the Bamboo Project Podcast, where the goal for me is to turn my life into a living. So I have a couple of things on the agenda that I want to talk about today. I also realized that people are gonna watch me do this, so it's actually like a way for people to kind of I guess keep me in check, to actually be authentic and to do the things I say I'm gonna do. So I'm gonna put it out there into the universe that I'm gonna start doing Duolingo. I'm gonna buy my can you mute that? I'm gonna do my I'm gonna buy the $70 one, which is for the year. Right, so I'm gonna buy that. The $70 monthly subscription for Duolingo. So it's like it's for the year, $70 for the whole year. Yes, Duolingo Plus. Because I know that this is what I hate about Duolingo, right? I hate that with Duolingo, they decided that they were, instead of actually adding more value to their company, they were going to reduce the value, look at it like this. Let's say when they first started Duolingo, they gave you 10 points of value, right? What they did is they moved that bar from 10 to 7. And now 1 to 7 is free, but 7 or 8, 9, and 10 you have to pay for. And I don't like that kind of ideology behind the company because I feel like you're not actually innovating. You're just making me pay for what I already was paying for before. So I wish they would have actually went and added more things to it. So I'm gonna pay for that. What else am I gonna start? Oh, this year, or hopefully this year, next year, with the coronavirus thing happening, I want to buy a house. So I'm probably maybe buy it by next year. This year would be good to pay for one. I don't know why I feel kind of awkward today doing it. Something doesn't feel authentic about it. I don't know what it is yet. I just feel like I'm trying to be a podcaster. I don't want to do that. I don't know. I don't know what it is. Today just seems weird. I feel kind of awkward.
Okay.
What do you think?
I mean, you kind of started off with like why are you talking about this?
I don't know. Because I was going to. You're making a weird face.
Because, I mean, is that what you really want to talk about?
There's nothing in my mind that I have to talk about. Like, there's nothing in my mind that I want to talk about. There are things that I want to bring up, but there's nothing actually that I'm emotionally attached to as of right now that I'm like, okay, this is what I definitely want to touch on. But there are things that I did write down that I want to talk about.
Why are these your goals?
I want to be a better person, and I want to learn Spanish. I want to buy a house, and like I said, I think one reason. So this is one thing I realized too about why I'm saying what I'm saying is because I'm not talking to the people listening. I'm talking to myself, but it's for me to keep track of going forward. Like, okay, you said you're gonna buy Duolingo. You can't be inauthentic and not buy it, so you're gonna have to buy it now. I want to start going back to the gym because I'm not going to the gym. Start working out again because I got very skinny. My biggest I was at 190 and I'm down to 175. I'm gonna put some pictures. Can you see my hand? Mm-hmm. Here, this is me at 190, and then this will be over here, me right now, right? So I want to get back to, make it longer. I want to get back to where I was before. So, because the purpose of the podcast is to work on myself and then have it be an extension of myself, as opposed to me trying to chase what people want me to do. So a theory, or not a theory, a metaphor that I have for that would be this. I want the podcast to be like art, right? And I talk to Melissa about this a lot. I give this example a lot, where if somebody is painting, right? Let's say they're outside on the ground just painting something, a portrait of Spider-Man, Batman, Superman, something that they want to paint, right? Every second that they look up to see who's watching them paint, that's time taken away from the craft that they're making. It's time taken away from making the artwork better. So I'm trying to focus directly as much as I can on the podcast itself, as opposed to what other people are saying about the podcast. So I want to do the podcast where I wonder if I be like kind of burping a lot, not burping, but like getting gas in my stomach. That'd be kind of weird. And I want to have it where people, no, I don't know. Something's off today. I don't know what it is. I don't know. I feel very weird. Yeah, this is it's a very weird thing. I'm gonna take a minute because I don't know what's going on. So one thing I'm thinking about that's causing this, I don't know how to call it, like a creative block or nervousness or something, but I feel like the fact that I'm trying to have this podcast more structured is somehow interfering with me being able to talk fluidly. I have things written down that I want to talk about. And I guess in my head, I'm thinking about talking about those things, and maybe that's what's kind of making it weird for me to talk, because I don't really like that kind of structure. The purpose of the podcast was just to be of me talking, just to talk, and then kind of in that of me speaking, saying what I want to do in my future and kind of giving out things that I want to do. So one thing about the podcast that, I talked to Melissa about this, and it's weird for me. I'm kind of nervous about the podcast because I wonder if I can do it, or like what it will become in the future. And she tells me that it's like, oh yeah, you can do this, you're good at it, whatever. But I don't feel like that. Like, I know I can talk. I know that when I do talk, people listen. When I'm outside, I know that people tend to, like, when we have conversations, they usually take a lot from it, or they kind of have a different perspective after we have a conversation. So it's just, I guess maybe just the nervousness of what I thought was going to happen on the podcast is actually happening. So it's just kind of a weird thing for me to touch on. So one thing I want to talk about on the podcast is the campaign that I did last week. I can't say the brand name yet because they said I have to wait until it comes out for me to talk about it. But I'm gonna talk about my experience on it. So we woke up at 9:00 that day. Actually, the day before, they asked me if I had any color in my wardrobe that I could put for the campaign, and I actually didn't have any color because I only wear black every day for my work. I wear a black shirt, black pants, black jacket. So I had an idea for Melissa to sew the color of the brand onto my jacket, and it came out really good. So we were up that night doing that, and then in the morning we met up and we went to they came to the house. We woke up at like 9, I think, or no, we woke up at 7. This is gonna be a crazy podcast to watch when I have to edit this. I'm be looking at myself like, what the fuck? So we woke up at 7. Okay, I see what the problem right now is. I wanted to give a playback of what was happening, but there was an incident where I think one of the people that I was working with was being racist, right? And one thing I realized about racism is that I don't think it exists. And what I mean by that is people aren't really people aren't people don't dislike you because you're black, right? It's there. A lot of people are either one or the other. They're either dumb or they're afraid, right? And I think that that's where most of racism comes from. I can't think of a situation where it comes from anything other than that. Because for you to not like somebody because of their skin color, it can't literally be like it doesn't make any logical sense. So it has to be something irrational, like your fear, or it has to be a situation where you just don't know, right? So on during the shoot, there was a situation where we ran into both of those scenarios, right? So I was doing the interview portion of the shoot, and I sat down with there was the producer, there was the director, there was I guess the lady doing the audio, and then somebody else who was I guess driving us around for the day, right? Everybody there was white except for the what would you say she was, a director? She was the producer. Okay, she was something. I don't know what she was. She was Indian, right? And she called me boy, right, during the interview. I didn't really know how to respond to that, and I wanted, like, after it happened, I wanted to talk to her. I wanted to say something to her about it, but I couldn't figure out the right way to approach because I didn't know what to say, and I just didn't know how to go about it. I didn't want to come off as being aggressive, where I'm just like, "Yo, what was that?" Because I know if I press her, she'll just be like, "I'm so sorry, I apologize. That's not what I meant." Blah 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 blah. I don't know if I want to joke about it because it's like then she might not understand how serious it is to me that she did that. So I kind of just left it alone, and there was times where I kept saying, "Okay, I'm gonna say something. I'm gonna talk about it to her. I'm gonna pull it to the side or whatever." As the day went on, I kind of decided not to do it because I felt like it wouldn't actually do anything, and I don't think it was malicious when she did it. I think it just came from a place of her being maybe ignorant or trying to be funny or something like that. So the context of that was when I was doing the interview, I was looking away from the camera before we started the interview. They were trying to figure out, where I should sit and whatnot. So as I'm looking to the left, the camera is here, and she's like, "Hey, look at me, boy," right? Now I'm like, at first when it happened, I'm just like, did she call me boy? And I'm like, I don't really know how to respond to that. I'm like, I didn't laugh. I just kind of looked at her like, okay, that was one of those weird, awkward situations. So, like I said, I left it alone for that period, right? Then later during that day, right, we were in the car. It's me, Melissa, the driver, and the person doing the audio for the ad, and it's a lunch break, right? So I have my bike outside on the pole, and I'm inside eating. The door's closed, and the guy who was doing the cinematography, and her, the Indian lady, were outside. My bike is locked up next to a pole, right? It's leaning on the pole. Now, as I'm eating, I look out and I see that some guy is kneeling down next to my bike. Now, I'm just watching because I don't know what he's doing. I didn't see what he's doing. I'm just looking at him because I'm like, okay, he's next to my bike. People like looking at my bike. It happens all the time, so I'm kind of just like, all right, let me keep an eye on him, right? So he goes in his bag and gets like a USB cord out. So I'm thinking he's gonna charge it. He had his laptop on top of my bike. At first, I didn't see that until afterwards. But when I did see the laptop, I thought, okay, maybe he wants to charge his laptop into the pole, the light pole. I've seen people do that. They'll like unwire the cords in the pole, and then they'll charge whatever they're doing or whatever the case might be, right? So I'm thinking he's gonna do that, and they decided to tell him, "Dog, hey, don't steal a bike. What are you doing? Don't do that. Don't do that," right? And now, this is why I say that it's a fear that causes racism, right? And this is why I think white people don't know how to deal with being called racist, because they don't even know that it's happening when they're being racist, right? So the guy gets up. He looked like he could have been homeless, right? But he had on pants and a jacket and a book bag. He had a laptop and he had a USB cord. So he could have been homeless, or he could have been like a computer programmer or something. I don't know what he was. He just didn't look like the average person that you would just see walk. He didn't look cleaned up, right? So he started yelling at them. He called them racist as he walked off, right? Now the Indian lady comes to me and she's like, "Oh my goodness, you can't." He called us racist. He don't even have no idea that you're black and it's your bike and we're trying to help you out, right? Now, I know the guy wasn't going to steal my bike. My bike was locked, so he wasn't going to steal it. And he had a USB cord and he had a laptop out, right? So I'm like, he wasn't going to steal my bike. It's just not possible for him to steal my bike that way. I'm like, maybe they thought he was going in his bag to get some type of tool to cut the lock off my bike and then probably steal it. But I'm watching him. I'm like, that's not what's going on here, right? So this is something I talked to Melissa about too when it comes to fear, mostly with situations of fear, right? I always say, like, the fear of something happening, you have to figure out where the fear is, right? Somebody might say, I'm afraid to get hit by a car or something like that, right? So I always say, if you're walking in the street, right, if a car is a block away and a car is speeding at you, you're not in danger. Like, there's nothing really there for it to happen to you, right? Because you still have chances to get out of the way. If the car is coming closer to you, right? Now, if it's not speed, I don't think that's a good example. I'm gonna use somebody trying to rob you. I think that's a better example, right? So if somebody's walking down the street and Melissa's walking down the street, right? If they walk past her, she might be afraid because it's nighttime, right? So she might start doing things that in her mind she think, oh, this person right here is gonna steal from me, they're gonna rob me, they're gonna kidnap me, whatever. So she'll start doing things that will make that person feel uncomfortable because they're like, why is she acting weird? Like I'm gonna rob her. It will make them uncomfortable. Now, if they were actually a predator, they would see the behavior as being weak, and then they would go, oh, okay, she's scared of me already. Before I've done anything, she'll be a good target for me to actually go and rob, right? Now, what I always say is the danger comes in to whatever in your mind you think the danger is. So if your fears of getting kidnapped, right, then for them to kidnap you, they have to grab you, right? If a person is across the street from you, you shouldn't be afraid because they're not going to grab you from across the street. You're just fine. You shouldn't act any different. You're across the street. Just leave it alone. If they cross the street, come next to you. Okay, they're closer to you, but you're not in any danger because they're just walking next to you, right? And that person grabs you. Now, an average person might start. This is what I hate people do. They start screaming and yelling. Oh my God, somebody help! Right? They start just they don't think about what could possibly happen. They're just freaking out, right? And this is something that annoys me about people being afraid or fearful of different things, because the person that's being attacked is not thinking of how can I not be kidnapped? How can I not be raped? How can I not be stabbed or robbed or whatever the case might be, right? Now, if the person grabs you, right, and you don't want to get kidnapped, you have to go, okay, how can this person kidnap me? They have to get me into a van or get me into a car. If there's no car around you, you can have a pretty good idea that that's not going to happen. They're not going to kidnap you and rob you, right? So you have to try and figure out, okay, where's the danger in this happening? And you have to figure, okay, how many decisions can I make up until that point of the actual danger happening that I can prevent it from happening? So if Melissa gets grabbed on the street, right? If she gets grabbed, if the guy walks across the street, walks past her, and then grabs her, how does he grab her? Is it her arm? Is he go behind her, grab her by her neck? Does she push up against a wall? You gotta think about all these different things. So if he had a scenario of where you go, okay, the guy grabs you from behind, right? Think about that before it happens. You go, okay, if you grab me from behind, what would I do? So when he comes across the street, you keep an eye on him when he's walking past you. You don't start doing anything that would let him know that you're afraid of him. You just go, okay, I notice he's coming close to me. When he comes past me, I'm gonna make sure that I turn my body just enough to see, okay, is he gonna try and grab me? What's gonna happen, right? You don't start running, you don't start screaming, you don't put your head down, you don't start acting like you're afraid. You just be aware, you be conscious, right? So let's say that he might try to grab your wrist, right? He grabs your wrist. Now, you can yell, but you yell with a purpose. You don't yell just to be screaming and yelling. You yell so that people can hear you. You don't just be yelling, oh my God, You say, hey, I'm getting robbed. There's a guy wearing a blue shirt, red pants, a yellow hat. He's robbing me. He's this tall. You start saying things so that if anybody does hear you, and then I'll put in his mind, damn, if I get away with this, They gonna know exactly what I was wearing, what I was looking like, where I'm at. They gonna know all these type of things. But if your mind is just thinking about, I don't want to get kidnapped and robbed, I'm gonna be scared, then you're not gonna have it, and you're not gonna be able to think rationally about what's going on. So I'm relating this back to the whole situation about the whole bike situation, right? So when they saw the guy next to my bike, they saw a black person next to a bike. That's what they saw. That's the only thing they saw. A black, possibly disheveled-looking guy next to the bike, right? Now, the weird thing about the situation is, for them not to be racist or them to learn that they were being racist, they would have to allow him to possibly steal my bike, right? So that means they have to sit there and watch him and go, okay, what's he doing? All right, he's going in his bag. Okay, now if they saw him pull out a chainsaw, you might go, hey, sir, what are you doing? Right? You just go ask him what you're doing. That's it. But if he's not doing anything that allows you to think he's stealing a bike, then all you would do is just ask him, or you leave him alone. You just say, hey, what are you doing? Or can you not put that on my bike? Or whatever the case might be, and you let it go. But once you accuse him of stealing, that's what racism is. That's what black people call racism, right? So earlier in the day, when I was being interviewed, they asked me a question about, had the coronavirus situation caused me to be treated differently? Is the thing still recording? So during that, I said to them, yeah, people are being more racist towards me, right? I'm like, yeah, people are using this as a reason to act upon the racist or the prejudices or the fear that they already have of black people, right? So when I said that, right, like I said, just one Indian lady and 3 white people, right? They were like, yeah, can you not say like that? Can you say like, how about the fear that they have that's going around inside of everybody, and it'll be better if, I wonder if I have the recording. Do you think you have that? Like Melissa might have that. If she does, I might put it up. I'll put it in the clip. Can you just kind of change how you say that part, right?
Even if they start for you, can you say it like the whole, that the city is very anxious and nervous at this time, and that causes,
Right, them to be fearful, right? Yeah. Because they don't understand. Because I gave him an example of what I would consider racism, right? And it's exactly what they ended up doing later in the day. Now, in their mind, and this is why it's hard to help somebody or to tell somebody about racism, because they're not acting on it out of, he's a black person, then he must be bad. They're not acting on it like that. It's a subconscious thought that they have, or feeling that they get when they see a black person around them doing something. It's a thought that comes to their mind, right? And the only way that they can fix that, if they even want to, because honestly they don't have no reason to, because if you're a upper class or upper middle class white person living in New York or living in the Midwest or something like that, there's no reason that your life is fine. There's no legitimate reason that you have to worry about the feelings of black people. It's like, for what? Like, I hear you, but you want me to now check my own subconscious thoughts? I'm not going to do that because I don't have to. Like, I'll think about it, but I'm not going to make a conscious decision to try and do that, right? And I understand that because I have my own subconscious thoughts or subconscious feelings about certain things, and it's almost like asking me to care about Ebola in West Africa or in Africa or something like that, right? Or to care about the problems that are happening in UK with whatever is going on in UK, or why white people have little penises. Like, oh, Donivan, do you care? I'll be like, that's not my thing. I don't, like, I know it's a thing. I understand it might be mean to say, but it's like, that's not something that I'm going to change my life over, because it doesn't affect my life like that. And that's how white people are. It's just like, I get it. I understand it. I'll think about it sometimes, but I'm not going to do a deep dive into my emotions to figure out, okay, how can I prevent this from happening, right? So the solution for these type of problems would be that more black people have to become more successful. That's the only solution for this, because if the guy that was working for us, or the woman that was working, if the woman or the guy we were working with was working for a black person, there would be a lot of black people around. So they would be a lot more conscious of making decisions that could be racist, because now they have to be. They're like, damn, I don't want to get fired. I don't know if should I say that? That's kind of fucked up. I don't know if I should. Last time I said it, the guy was yelling at me, and I don't know. That would happen. But that's because they're around more black people who will be like, yo, what the fuck was that? Why are you talking like that? Or they can get fired and lose their job over it, right? But like I said before, they don't have a reason to care about it, so they don't, right? Now, granted, she had a personality of somebody who's just very afraid. And this is why I don't like people who are too scared. It makes me feel very nervous, because they're acting out of fear. And fear is irrational. So when we were doing the shoot, right? Before we even did the shoot, we had like a Google Chat meetup call, right? And she was so scared about transmitting the coronavirus during the shoot, right? Her thing was, I don't want us to, make sure everybody's as safe as possible. Everybody should wear gloves. Everybody should have a mask on. We should have like social distance while we're doing the shoot, just to make sure that everybody is safe, right? So as she's saying this, she's asking the cinematographer, hey, how can we get these shots? And he's like, yeah, I could take the GoPro. I could put the GoPro on the bike and, just clip it on there. And she's like, okay, but like, can you make sure that you're wearing gloves when you put the GoPro on the bike? Because I just want to make sure that you're safe, right? Now, I'm looking at the camera. He's looking at the camera. We both looking at her, and it's an awkward silence because me and him both know she's being ridiculous. He's white, I'm black, and we're both just looking at her like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, what are you talking about? Now, we understand that there are people who are dying from symptoms of the coronavirus. We are very aware of that, right? But we understand also that she's clearly overreacting to the situation. So this is just her being afraid. It's just her irrational fear of, I don't want the cinematographer to touch the bike and possibly contract the coronavirus from touching the bike and then give it to whoever else is on the shoot, right? That was the first thing that happened. He was like, the clip, I just clip it onto the handlebar. I don't touch anything. It's just, and she's like, yeah, I know, but it's just, we're scared about it, right? So I go, okay, whatever. That's the first thing. So then while we're doing the shoot, she's very adamant about the clients want everybody to wear a mask. The clients want me to wear a mask. The clients want me to wear gloves. They want everybody to be safe. Blah blah blah. Right. At the end of the campaign, I'm doing like a photo shoot, right? And she comes over. I'm wearing the mask, right? It's at the end of the whole thing. I'm wearing a mask. She comes over and says to me, yeah, actually, so the clients don't even want there to be any masks in the pictures or anything, right? Now I hear her say this. So they tell me take the mask off, right? Now I go, in my mind, it makes me think the clients probably never said anything about the mask at all. But she's so afraid of losing her job that she's gonna try and I don't know what the word I keep coming up with is capitulate. She's like, I'm so afraid of doing anything that I'm gonna try and prevent everything from happening, right? Instead of asking them or instead of being logical, she's like, I'm just gonna be afraid to act out of fear, right? So she did that. That was at the end of the shoot. So then when we get to the actual, it's recording still. When we get to the what is it called? The bike situation, right? Her mind instantly goes to, oh my God, I'm so afraid. There's a person here next to the bike. He's black and he looks disheveled. He must be stealing, right? A rational person, like I said earlier, would be able to discern what's happening here. But the only thing she sees is the picture of the person. She's not seeing the nuance of it. He has a laptop. He has a USB cord. There's no tool that he had that he could pull out of his bag, or that he did pull out of his bag that could steal a bike, right? I lost my train of thought a little bit. Do you remember what I was saying before that? Anything?
Because you were making a connection of like how she believed it.
Yeah, because this is why this is how I think racism happens, because of things like this. I think there are way more people like that than there are people who are sitting down trying to come up with ways to like hurt black people. I think it's more people who are either just don't know and don't care, which like I said is not a problem, or they just are afraid based off of fears that they didn't even create themselves, or have never even been in situations where they've had this. It's just based off of what they see on TV, what they see in movies and things like that, right? I actually watched an interview recently where a guy was talking about how in a movie he was acting in, they had a role for a black guy to come in and stab this woman in the hospital bed. That he was a hitman hired to kill her. Right, he was to come in the middle of the night while she's sleeping and stab her. He's like, I'm not doing that. And then they said that the role has to be for a black person, right? Now it's possible they could have done that because it's and they were like, you know what, we want the whole world to know that black people are dangerous. That's possible, right? Or here's how I look at it: they're just so dumb, right, that they go, oh my God, what's the scariest thing that could happen to you? And somebody say, oh my God, if a black guy came in here and stabbed me in my sleep, everybody's like, oh my God, that is scary. I would be so scared, right? That's what I think. That's how I think they act. I don't really think that there are people doing this, obviously. I don't think the majority of them are trying to keep black people down or impoverished or anything like that. And the reason I don't think that is because the majority of them are stupid. A lot of people in the world are just dumb. So for them to be able to come up with different types of things to try to hold black people down, it's too many of us to do that to. And if it worked, we would still be slaves. If they were smart enough to keep us enslaved, they would. There would be no reason not to, because it would be like, oh, they work for free. Let's keep having them work for free. It's a good thing. Keep doing that. But it didn't work. Why? Because they're not as smart as we think they are. Right? People like to think that white people are these geniuses, or they have these diabolical plans, and I don't think for the most part it's that. For the most part, it's just they tend to be in situations that can benefit from either bad things happening, like this, coronavirus, or 2008, whatever. They just tend, and because they were ahead, they tend to be able to do better when things like this happen. So like I said, that's what I think as far as how racism actually happens. So she comes back to the car and she tries to kind of tell me that she saved me or she helped me out. Right? She's like, oh my God, you see what he called me racist. I can't believe he would say that. You're black. And I'm looking at her like she really does not, she's so tone deaf. She can't understand that, one, I didn't ask her to save me, right? There was no saving that needed to be happened. Two, she wasn't even being aware of the fact that he wasn't stealing, right? Now, the other guy who was a cinematographer, he kind of, I feel that he kind of had like more of an understanding of what happened, even though he too was also with her about him stealing. But I think once I said he wasn't gonna steal my bike, like he was not stealing it. They were like, yeah, but I feel like she was like, no, he was gonna steal it, and he was kind of like, he could have, maybe. And I feel like people like that, because people like him are the kind of white people I would rather be around, because they aren't, like I said, they aren't trying to be racist. They literally just don't know. Somebody else was there who said that he came from, well, you know where he said he came from? What place he was at?
Oh, the other guy?
Yeah.
He's from Minnesota.
He's from Minnesota, right? And Melissa was telling me they had a conversation, and when he got here, he was just saying that he's not used to seeing all of these cultures in one place, right? Now, for me, I take that as there's mad black people and Asian people and all types of colors I've never seen before, right? He didn't want to say that. I get it. I read between the lines. I understand that's what he meant. But I also understand that that's just kind of how things are. And I had that problem, not a problem, but I had that with my roommate when I was in college. It just, that was the first awakening or eye-opening moment for me, where he told me that at 20 or at 19 years old, his whole entire life, his entire life that he's been alive, he's only seen two black people. in his entire life. His entire life, he's seen 2 black people in real life, right? I think I was the second person. I might have been the second person. He said he had one person that was black that went to his school, and that was it. So it might have been one black person, but it wasn't a lot, right? So if you're not around black people, who's going to give you that side eye when you use the N-word? Who's going to give you that side eye when you're saying something that's you're trying to be funny, but it's just not funny? Nobody's going to say anything about it. It's going to just be normal, right? And then they take that same mindset and they come to New York or they come to some culturally inclusive area and they're like, whoa. And now they won't say the N-word because they know that's taboo, but they'll make a joke by saying boy, or they'll make a joke by saying like, you know, some fried chicken joke, some corny black joke they'll come up with, some stereotype joke, and they won't understand. Or you same thing with the people stealing. They won't understand why people are upset at them and why they're being called racist. Because in their mind, they're like, I'm not racist. I'm not a racist person. I just was making a joke. But there are certain types of jokes that people will make that if you don't actually know somebody of that genre, you won't understand the nuance of the joke. So I have friends who will say boy to me, but they're not calling me boy. They're saying boy like, boy, yo, that shit was crazy. That's how they'll say it. But they're not like, boy, come here. They're not saying that, right? There's a very big difference between those two things. But if you don't have black friends or friends who speak like that, you won't be able to understand that nuance. You'll say, all I said was boy. I don't understand what the problem was. I just said boy. That's not a bad thing. So that's kind of how that was on the shoot, right? Now, and like I said earlier, just telling people who are white or Asian or Indian or any of those things that just to be aware of it is impossible, because there's no way for them to know all the nuances of the conversation of how we speak, how we act, or anything like that. There's no way that we can expect them to just know unless we give them a book, right? And the book would have to be for a black person that's born in New York, a black person from Brooklyn, a black person from California, a person who's born in Africa, a black person who is Jamaican but lives in Brooklyn but has family that's African. There's no way to know all those nuances, right? So the only way for them to understand, for them to get the problem, is for black people to be self-sufficient and go, I don't care that you're racist. That's not my problem. I don't care. What I'm going to do is, though, I'm going to become your boss. So if you talk that around me, I'm going to fire you. Right? That's how you fix that problem. Because then when they get fired, they'll be like, oh shit, I don't even know what I said. They'll be like, listen, come let me tell you. You call me boy. I'm a grown ass man. You're fired for being disrespectful. You come up with some word that's in the manual that you could use just to fire them. That's what they like to do to us. They'll be like, oh, I was being harassed. Something like that. Because now you have a company that you own. You can say, oh, I can fire you for this thing that I deem to be unnecessary. Right? Now, if that would have happened more than once or a lot, where they would probably move to another state with more white people. That's what probably happened. They would be like, I can't even be around black. I keep getting fired. I don't know why I keep getting fired, but I would move. Now, like I said before, if there were enough black people, they would move from New York to Minnesota and still get fired because somebody black is over there owns the business. So it would get, once they realize, damn, I need to actually change the way I think. I need to maybe talk to somebody who's black or even hang out with black people and not have a black friend. Having a black friend does not mean that you understand nuance. You need to take yourself and put just you one person around multiple black people and just hang out with them, because having one black friend, like I said, what happened with me, we're not always going to be like, hey, let me check you on that thing you said, or hey, that was racist. Because if it's just me and you talking, I may say something. You might be like, nah, come on, I didn't mean it like that. You know me. You know I'm not racist. That's not how. I just was making a joke. Come on, you know me, right? But if you take that same person, that same white person, and put them in a black room with all black people, they're gonna act very different. Because whenever they say something, people are gonna be like, yeah, you're wild. You can't say that. And I've noticed that with black people, we don't really care as much about the racism thing. It's more so like we just want you to understand. It's weird. We're trying to be inclusive, right? But white people aren't trying to be inclusive because they don't have no reason to. They just existing. But we're like, yeah, come on, we'll help you, we'll share this with you, we'll do that with you, right? So the kind of white people that I like are the ones who will ask questions like, oh wow, you guys put like, there was a video I seen the other day of a white guy and a black girl was doing her hair, right? I guess she was putting a wig on or something like that, and he was genuinely trying to understand what she was doing. So he's asking her like, what's that thing you doing when you plucking your forehead? She's laughing because she's like, she understands that he doesn't know he has no idea what she's possibly doing, but he wants to know. So he's just kind of like, so you telling me you plucked the hair to make it look more real? He's like, oh, I get that, makes sense. I understand that. So now, if he's watching a show, he'll be able to understand the jokes in the show. It won't come off as racist. He won't just be going straight to, some racial what's the word, stereotype. He'll actually be able to understand the jokes. And then when he's talking to somebody, he'll be able to actually talk to them with the knowledge of knowing why somebody does certain things. So like, I'm trying to think of another example. What's something that black people do that white people probably wouldn't know about? Do you have any ideas? Something that's like normal?
I was gonna say seasoning food.
Yes, seasoning food. That's a perfect thing, right? Because this is the problem I think people have too, is that black people, a lot of black people are different than a lot of white people, right? And the problem I think that there is that, or the thing that I think causes a problem is people think that is a problem, right? Black people don't have to be white people, and white people do not have to be black people. It doesn't. You don't have. It's funny because I've heard this before, where people will say that the problem that we've had over the years is integration and assimilation, right? Because what happened is now we kind of said, well, I have to be white, or I have to be more white, or I have to be more black, or I have to be more whatever, right? And I don't think race is a thing, right? Like black, white, all that. Like, honestly, those are only two races that people even talk about. People don't really consider Asian a race. Maybe they do. You kind of have some racist things about them. But everybody else is more so a cultural thing. Like, that's kind of how it is. It's not really like, oh, this is a black person or a white person. It's like, those are the only two races that are out there that I know about. Everybody else is just, I was born in, like I said, maybe Asia. That's probably it, are the only three races. But the difference is culture. And I think that's the most important thing. And I think black people tried to have more white culture. And when they did that, it took away from, once we assimilated, it kind of took away who we are, right? Or what we could be, or what we like to do, and we try and do what they do. Now, what I was saying earlier about is that we don't have to be the same, is that with seasoning food, a white person might eat some food, throw some salt and pepper, but oh, this tastes amazing. And then a black person will come in and be like, nah, I gotta add, I don't cook, so I'm just coming up with some random shit you put on food. I gotta add ginger, I gotta add pepper, and I gotta add allspice, I gotta add onion powder. I gotta add like paprika. What's another one? Sazon for the Spanish, right? I gotta add all these things, right, to make my food taste good. Now, there are black people who would eat that food and be like, I don't like this. This is not my thing. There's a white person that will eat a food that has chicken, that has salt and pepper, and be like, this is disgusting, right? It happens, but it doesn't mean that now I'm white because I want to eat salt and pepper on my food. It just means that I like food with less salt and pepper, with just salt and pepper on it, right? But I feel like what the problem is that we say I have to be, what's wrong? How can I put this? We say this. We say that there is a problem with the other person and what they're doing, right? And when we do that, I don't really want to sound too preachery or too like Malcolm X, Martin Luther King shit. Like I really don't. When we do that, it pretty much says that there's a problem with the other person and what they're doing. and it doesn't allow us to understand why they do that, because maybe they've never even had seasoned chicken before, right? That could be a thing, and we could just talk to them like, hey, you want to understand why I make mine like this? They go, oh shit, I like that. They might say, yeah, my chicken is like this because of this reason. Now, you don't have to agree with them, but you can go, I understand exactly why you make it like that. I'm not going to do that, right? I'm not doing that, but I understand why you do it, right? And I think that when we tried to assimilate, that's where the problem became. And funny enough, this is one of my end goals down the line, is to have a place where we have a lot of black people doing something. Like, it's a lot of black people doing something where we can kind of have our own say, or at least have be able to have leverage, right? So, oh, excuse me. Oh, excuse me. I don't know what should be happening. I think when I drink the water, it'd be wilding. Every time I do the freaking podcast, I be hit every time. Just maybe I'm talking, I'm sweating. I don't know what's going on. Either way, so like I said, I think that assimilation was a problem, because I feel like it would have been a lot better if I'm like, you know what, these white people, I don't like the way they treat me. I'm going back to my black place. I'm gonna go hang out with my black people, right? But there's not really a place like that. There might be like a little place, but I'm talking about like this is a lot. It's a big wish or big ask, but like a black owned YouTube, or like a black owned, like a giant, like giants of the industry that are black owned, where the majority of the company. Could you imagine how it would be if there was a Apple and the majority of people at Apple were black? That sounds crazy, right? That sounds insane. But the majority of people at Apple are white. I'm pretty sure they are. Can you look that up for me? Like, what's the average employee at Apple? They're probably white. And it sounds normal to be like, yeah, they're all maybe in Africa. But then again, like I said, I'm not African. I'm American. I'm black, which is a person that was born in America that's black. I don't really like saying African American. I think anybody that does say that is racist. Anybody that's white listening to this, do not use the term African American. Just call somebody black. Not blacks with an S, just black. BLACK. If I hear somebody use the word blacks, or hear somebody say African American, to me, I think that they have some racist undertone they don't know about, but it's there. Apple is mostly white, go back up, and male, according to its first diversity report. This is from 2013. 14. Apple, the latest tech company to reveal its workforce demographics, said Tuesday that its U.S. staff is 55% white, 15% Asian, 11% Hispanic, and 7% black. 2% of workers are multiracial, another 9% did not clear their race, right? They're probably white. Do you think they're white? No, they probably not white. They wouldn't. They probably like, what they call them, the other ones? Alaskan or some shit. They don't like saying their race. I see Indian on there either, which is kind of odd. That's weird. Nah, I don't know if I trust that. There's no Indians.
That might be Asian. India and Asia.
They call them Asian? People in India called Asia? People who are in India are called Asian?
They could be.
I've never heard nobody call them Indian, Asian.
It's a joke.
That's racist.
It's a fuck.
It's racist.
Yeah, it's a joke on TikTok.
Really? Wow. I didn't even see right there. What is it? Pacific Islander. I think that's what I'd be calling the Alaskans.
Oh. Yeah, Asian would include Indian people.
That's what it says. Here, are you just saying that? I don't know if you read that somewhere. I don't see it. Are you saying that, or you read that?
I'm saying that.
Okay. So, right. I just think just to put in perspective, right? Just think how weird it would be if you walked into an Apple store or an Apple company and majority was black. That shit would blow your mind. Like a company that's that big, let's not even go with them. Let's go with somebody like McDonald's or something like. It's any of those companies. I just think how crazy that would be if everywhere you walk, like, yeah, everybody here is black. Everybody? Sheesh. That shit kind of crazy. So, and like I said, they call it racist when we do it. When they do it, it's normal. So whatever. So I kind of gotta pee. Are you going to pee?
No.
Okay. Let me go pee.
I posted it.
It's a situation where it's just a misunderstanding. But the problem with being black is that there are a lot of those. So if I'm walking down the street and you run across the street and I'm like, what was that? And they're like, oh, the coronavirus. And I'm like, but you walked down the whole street and there were 3 people who were all not black and you didn't do that. And they go, yeah, but the coronavirus. You're just kind of like, okay, sure. If you have a situation, like I said, with the bike, with him, like I said, and I really want to stress this a lot. Like, I want to stress this a lot. I really fuck with him. That guy, the cinematographer, was very cool. He was very passionate about his job. Like, we talked about it, and he actually gave me a new perspective on cinematography or on shooting and things like that. Because what he taught me was that it's the reason that he loves cinematography is because he can tell a story, right? And I've never heard anybody talk about it like that. He talked about it with passion of, like, I get to show somebody's story of their life to somebody else. So I get to kind of go, catch them doing things they like to do and put it in a way that somebody else would want to see it. He talked about having the beginning, a middle, and the end, transitions. He was just really going in depth to how much he loves the work and the art of shooting, and I thought that was really cool. And like I said, he wasn't scared. I don't like scared people because they make me feel very uncomfortable. He just didn't know. Like, his thing, he really just did not know what was happening. And the other lady, or the lady that was there, like I said, she said she gonna buy me something. She told me that she was gonna buy me something for my birthday, right? Which is tomorrow. I think it's tomorrow. Yes, tomorrow. And I hear people talk about, the industry is so fake and people are weird or whatever, right? Now, here's an interaction that we had. I went to go, because the cinematographer, when we were talking about his passion for cinematography, he was just like, yo, I can give you a GoPro. And I was like, what? He's like, yeah, I have like mad GoPro. I can just give you one. I was like, okay, sure. I'm like, bet. That's cool. I can use it to go when I'm riding my bike. I can record when I'm in the city. I really feel like I would enjoy that, especially for my line of work. It would really be good for me. And I'm doing YouTube, so I'm like, that could really be helpful, right? So I'm like, I bet, cool. So at the end of the shoot, or the end of the shoot, I asked him to take some pictures of us. He did, because nobody's ever I know of taken a picture of us on the bike. So I'm gonna post those pictures right here.
Oh my gosh.
All right. Anybody that's listening, you can't see it because my hands are up and I'm showing the picture right here. Okay. So, and he just seemed like a cool person. He just seemed cool to hang out with, right? And I feel like if he did something racist, like, I would more like, I don't even think he would call somebody boy, because that's just not something. I feel like he would know enough of not, like, he would have enough rationale to know I probably shouldn't even say that. I just wouldn't say that to anybody, right? So he took some pictures of us, and I think he even recorded us when we were on the bike too. I don't even know if he's gonna use that, or if he's gonna send it to us, because he definitely recorded us riding on the bike. He actually like staged like a little thing at the end when we were about to leave, like, hey, we just get you guys riding past me, like, as an ending for the shoot. So I'm like, that would be kind of fire if that goes into the campaign. I think that should, like, if they use that, but they have to pay you for it if they did that properly, right?
Pay me for it? I mean, probably not.
I feel like I'm not. Would they have to though?
Probably not. Probably not.
But you know what's crazy? You were in it walking me to the train though.
That's what I'm saying. But that might just. They probably take that as me volunteering to be in it.
Okay, either way, I just think it would be cool to be in it, to have Melissa on the bike riding with me. So then the next day, I was going to pick up the GoPro from the lady's apartment, because we had said we were going to meet up, me and him, in the city at his office to get the GoPro, right? but it rained that day. Normally I'll be working, but because it was raining, I'm like, you know what? I don't want to go outside and deal with the rain. So I decided, you know what? I'm gonna just take the train down there and pick it up. So he was like, you know what? It'll probably be easier for you if I leave it with her because she can give it to her doorman. You can pick it up from him. So I'm like, that's bet. I can do that. That's the easiest thing for me to do. So I decided I was gonna go down there, take the train, walk over there, go to her apartment, and get the GoPro. So she was the GoPro was in her apartment. It wasn't actually down in the lobby, right? So it's so weird. So she had the GoPro in her apartment, and she had to bring it downstairs. Now, when she came downstairs, we were talking about the payment. Now, the payment thing, right? So I was like, listen, I would have been fine personally if I had got paid. I would have been cool with getting paid like $400 to $500. I'm like, that would be a cool amount to get paid for what I did. I'm like, I make close to that when I'm working. So I'm like, I would be fine to get paid that, right? And because more for the experience of it. Then I got a GoPro, and then the knowledge that I got from being on the shoot was very valuable. So I'm like, that plus $500, I would have been fine, right? I got paid more than that. I'm not gonna say how much, but I got paid more than that. I was very surprised how much I got paid for that. So I'm like, all right. So she told me that when I came there to get the GoPro, she was talking how much I'm gonna get paid and stuff. So I was under the impression from that conversation that I can just go. She said they're gonna wire it to me, right? And I've never had money wired to me, and I feel like maybe there's some different type of processing situation with wiring, because I'm like, I just figured you could just send it to somebody. I'm like, is it a transfer? I don't know what wiring.
I think it's because I think wires have to be done over a certain amount. Maybe.
Oh, maybe. Yeah, because she used the word wire, and I've heard the word. I just don't know the purpose of it. So I'm like, whatever. So I'm like, what do I need? What do you need from me that would help you to wire me the money? She said, I need your bank account information, which would be your routing number, your account number, and the name. She told me the address of my bank. I'm like, all right, I don't know. Does that, like, what do you mean the address? Like, where I opened it up at? Like, any random address? Like I said, I had no idea how these things work. So I'm like, all right, cool, whatever. We could do that. So I was like, but wouldn't it be easier to just get a check? Like, I could just come pick a check up from you. She's like, oh, yeah, you could do it. Oh, I don't have the check. She's like, my accountant has the checks. They write all the checks for us. And I'm like, all right, cool. Where do they live? Like, can I go get to them? She's like, yeah, the office is right up the block or whatever. You can go get it from them. So I'm like, okay, bet. She's like, tomorrow I can go. No, I said, tomorrow? She's like, yeah, tomorrow you can go get it, right? So then, what else did we talk about? She told me she was going to buy me a birthday present that day, right? And the next day, when I came to work in the city, I texted her, and I said, hey, I'm in the city. I'm gonna read the text that I sent her that day, and it's just awkward to me. I said I'm gonna be in the city all day today. Should I swing by the office to pick up the check? Then she said, I'm sorry, we can't issue a check, and physical contact should really be avoided, right?
I didn't know she said that last part.
Right? Now, I'm like, this goes back to that fearful thing. I don't like dealing with people like this because they're irrational. That makes me think, did she ever have any intention of me picking up the check from her accountant in the office, right? Did she just say that to appease me at the time? And if so, why not just tell me no at that moment? Like, what happened between that yesterday and today that all of a sudden now it's not okay? Mind you, we were there talking to each other for like 15 minutes, talking. Like, I don't understand why she would then go and say it's physical contact should really be avoided. I'm like, just give me the check. You can put the check in an envelope. You could do anything. You can do a bunch of things. You can put it outside. It don't even matter. But like, somebody give me a check. People can give me the check without catching the coronavirus. Like, it's possible. So that shows me she's being irrational. It's still recording.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, that makes me feel uncomfortable. From that first day, I'm like, okay, now I feel weird from this text. Then she goes, we do paperless work and have done for many years. right? So I'm like, what? I'm like, mind you, she texted me all of these things at once. She goes, we haven't issued a company check in over 5 years. I will send you an email with all the info, and I also need to wait for the client to pay me, so please be patient, right? I'm like, okay, sure. She said, these things usually take at least a week to process, and under current circumstances may take longer due to international banking delays, but you will get paid. There's a process to all of this, and I will send you info. You have to fill out some more paperwork and send it back to me. Thanks. If you have any questions on the form I send you, then let me know. Right? So I said, not a problem. Right? Now, like I said, I felt weird by this because I'm like, that first message just goes, then what was our conversation about? Why did you not say any things to me yesterday? Yesterday it was just, I could pick the money up from you from the bank. Like, I can just go pick it up. That was the thing we talked about yesterday. And you didn't say anything about any of these things when we had that conversation. And you didn't say anything about the 5 years. We haven't issued a check in 5 years. Which, and in my head, I'm like, what does that even mean? They don't have checks to issue? Is that what that means? And she didn't say we didn't get paid yet. And I'm just like, why are you telling me that? Like, the agreement was that I was going to come pick check up today. That was the whole agreement that we had the day before. Like, why would you not say, listen, when we get to pay, we're going to pay you, and then we'll wire to you, but we can't do it now because blah, blah, blah. She didn't say any of that. She made it seem like tomorrow you will get paid when you come in to pick it up. So I'm like, all right, that makes me feel weird. And I guess this goes back to people being afraid, just fearful. Now, a reason I'm saying this is because she did a lot of things throughout this whole time that show how afraid she just is, I guess, to be fired. She's just very anxious all the time of being, I don't even know what you want to call it, right? And she also told me that she used to work on a black, I don't know if she used the word black, but she was an assistant for some rappers back in the day. I forgot the context of how she told me that, but she wanted me to know that it was some reputable rappers that she had worked with in the past. I'm just like, all right, that's kind of cool. And she was like, yeah, it was. She's just one of those people that if you say you like blue, she also likes blue. If you like red, she also likes red. That's kind of how she is. And I really, really don't like people like that. And I feel like, it's funny because I know girls hate that too. Like, I know when I've talked to girls before, they told me that they'll talk to a guy. In particular, there's one memory I have in my mind where I was talking to this girl, and she said that a guy she was talking to said that, she said she liked J. Cole. Right? He's like, oh yeah, me too, I love J. Cole. And then in the same conversation, she was like, you know what? I'm not even really a fan of J. Cole. I like Kendrick. He's like, yeah, I don't like J. Cole, I like Kendrick. And when she told me that, right, Melissa's looking at me because her pussy just dried up too. Her pussy probably got mad and dry just hearing me say that. Because it's like, I feel it's funny. I feel like mad girls probably got dry hearing that. Like, what? They just made, like, what did he say? Right. That flip-floppiness, girls don't like that. I don't like it. I don't know if any people, maybe somebody likes it. I don't know. I hate that shit. That blows mine. Don't do that. People like you more when you have a stance. When you say, I don't like this, they go, okay, fine. We know that you don't like that. They don't like when you like it, don't like it, sometimes like it. On a Wednesday you like it, Monday you don't like it. People don't like that kind of shit, right? So that's what she was doing. Like I said, it's very weird to me that she would act like that. So for the shoot, we wrote it. We have a lot of behind the scenes footage which we're gonna release after the campaign comes out. It's an online ad campaign, so they said they will put it on there. My lips are mad dry. They will put it on. They will put it on their website possibly, and they said it should come out by the 1st. They said of May, which would be Thursday, I think, or Friday.
Probably Friday.
Yeah, it'd be Friday, which would be perfect because it's a Friday. But if not, they said by the middle of May.
I feel like that's a big ass window.
Yeah, so I'm like,
eventually, maybe.
Right.
And we're not sure.
Right. That's the thing. So they might not use the footage, they said, but they said if they don't use it, it'll be up somewhere. It just won't be up on their website. They'll use it somewhere else. And they said once that time comes, then they'll send it to me and I'll be able to use it and look at it. No, I'll be able to look at it. I can't use it though. They're gonna give me the password to look at it through a portal or something to be able to watch it. Yeah. I mean, it's not my content. I can't be sharing content that ain't mine. Feel me?
I mean, what if you put a
The portal?
Not to the portal, but like on the portal, are they gonna show you where it's available?
No, I think they're gonna show me. I think the portal will be like to show me the video.
Oh.
Yeah. So I'm like, that's cool. She texted me yesterday, I think on the day before yesterday, telling me I'm a natural on camera. But like I said, I can't trust people like that because now I'm just like, maybe I could be, I don't know. So yeah, he took some really good pictures and this and that and third. So I'm just kind of like, all right, thank you. I just say thank you because I learned. Right? Here's the thing, a jewel for everybody out there. The most confident thing you could say when somebody gives you a compliment is thank you. Now, the reason I believe that is because any other response would be you either trying to give your power away or overstep on the power that you have by the compliment, right? So example of that would be if somebody says, Donivan, you have a nice shirt. And I go, yeah, I know, right? That people don't, you can say that and someone might get turned off by it because they're like, what? That's weird. Or you could do the other situation, which is giving your power away by going, oh my God, you really think so? Or, I didn't even know, I didn't think it was gonna be a nice shirt. Oh my God, you could do all of those things, right? But either way, those things are either too far to the left or too far to the right. If somebody says, yo, I like your shirt, thank you. That's it. It's not, you're not trying to downplay yourself. You aren't trying to overplay them. You're not trying to overplay yourself. You just, thank you. I appreciate that. Like, you just leave it alone at that. So whenever somebody gives you a compliment, the best thing you could say, the most confident thing you could say is thank you. So I'm trying to think what else happened during the shoot. Oh, so we have a lot of behind the scenes footage, which I think is really cool. We're going to make a video of that, which I think will be kind of cool. I'm going to have fun editing that. Melissa might edit it too. I think she might edit it. Yeah, I don't know. We'll figure it out. But we're going to definitely make a video.
There's a lot of footage.
Yeah, it's a lot of footage.
But can we talk about that?
Oh, sure.
Yes. I'm gonna come back on the camera.
Melissa looks very pretty and she wants people to know how pretty she looks, so she's on the camera.
So
Unsolicited.
Unsolicited, yes. Yes. Because that morning, funny enough, yeah. So yeah, it was a hood situation. So I made Donivan a hood the night before, and that morning, he asked me like, "Oh, are you gonna like do your makeup or like?" Cause he was just asking if I wanted to, like, you know, cause the time was going by, and I was supposed to walk into the end of the block. So I did my makeup. We went downstairs. I walked Donivan to the end of the block. It was all, you know, recorded and everything when we met the cinematographer, and then he was like, "Hey, you know, do you actually just want to walk him to like the train station instead of just to the end of the block?" I'm like, "Yeah, sure, why not?" Cause it's not like it's that far. So we get to the train station and everything, and he asked me, do I want to go to the city with them? This is a cinematographer. And I'm looking at Donivan like, and he's asking you a question. Like, what do you want to do? Right? And then I'm looking at him and he's like, yeah, so like, I was just like, because in my brain, I had stuff that I was planning on doing that day. I wanted to make apple pie for Donovan's lunch and then meet up with them for their lunch break later on, which is going to be like at noon. That's kind of like how my day was planned. So I'm like, yeah, I'll go. Like, you know, forget the other stuff. I'll just go. And in my head, I felt anxious about making that decision, because I felt like this was Donovan's thing, because I wasn't going to be in any of the other shots other than me walking to the train station. And in my head, I'm just like, man, I hope I didn't fuck up by like wasting my day by just following them around and not really doing anything. So I ended up I asked the young lady that was working the boom operator, I asked her, like, you know, is it okay if I record? And they're like, yeah, it's fine, as long as we don't post anything before the campaign goes up. So I started recording, and I ended up recording a lot of footage, and it made me feel a lot better afterwards, because I left the day making something out of nothing, I felt like. So I didn't feel like I was intruding on the set. I didn't feel like I was intruding on Donovan's experience. Like I felt like I actually like made something from it, and that made me feel really good on the inside. So yes, that's what I wanted to say.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah.
What? Are you gonna say?
Are you okay?
Yeah.
Are you sure? You're acting kind of weird.
Cause I feel kind of bad now.
Why?
Cause I took you away from the podcast to say that.
To say what?
To say what I just said.
Why'd you do that?
Why did I do it? So I thought that it would add to it. But I'm just a producer. It's not my podcast. We'll go back to my producer.
So you feel bad about what you said?
I don't. Can you?
You're not saying anything.
I don't feel bad about what I just said.
Because you said acting weird afterwards. That's why I'm asking you why you're acting weird.
Oh, because it made me think about the last thing that we spoke about.
Which was what?
When I said, okay, you may speak.
Uh-huh.
I'm like, I hope it's not the same situation where I think in my head, I'm just kind of chilling, but I don't want to do. I don't want to make you feel uncomfortable.
Okay. Jesus Christ.
That's fine.
Okay. So that started off fine and then went in a weird place. Can you put the thing on? So what else about the pod? Oh yeah, so I guess I went to get the stuff from the guy. Oh, I don't know if anybody noticed. The reason I referred to him as a cinematographer is for two reasons. One is anonymity. And then the second reason is because when we talked about it, I asked him, like, what would you consider yourself? And he chose the word cinematographer. He said, because I asked him, are you a videographer? Are you like a photographer, editor? Do you like a director? He's like, I consider myself a cinematographer. So I'm like, okay, that's what I'm going to refer to him as. I'm like, I've never heard nobody say that. And that kind of just put it into perspective of like how he views his job. Like he doesn't view it as like I just record video. I'm a cinematographer, right? So I'm like, all right, I got you. I would definitely refer to you as that. So like I said, he was mad cool. And I think, like I said, I can tell he really enjoyed his job. Like he really has a passion for it. He was hanging out the back. We were driving through the city and probably 25 miles an hour. His feet are hanging out the back of the trunk of the car with the that's the hood? That what do we call it? With the trunk open, with the camera in his hands, and he's like hanging out the car while we're turning. His feet, I can see his feet like swinging back and forth underneath the car. Like he's doing this. He was in it. He was in his job serious. Like he cares about his job a lot. Like I said, that's cool. And then with the GoPro situation, bruh, I don't think he'll give me a GoPro, right? Bruh, while I pull up, the man gave me a GoPro. He gave me two memory cards, a 64 gig and I think a 16 gig. He gave me a chest harness. He gave me, I didn't even know they had this. This is how you know I'm not at that level yet. They have cases to hold your memory cards. He gave me like like a little book, I guess, for memory cards. You could keep them in. Bruh, I didn't even know. Now I got one of those. So now if I have more than 8 memory cards, I can have them all together. I don't have to lose them. I didn't know that was a thing. So I got that. He gave me the chest harness, and he gave me 2 clamps. I think it's 2 clamps for the bike, right? And I think this is just, I don't know what to call it. It's just hilarious to me that the next day or the day after, me and Melissa were sitting down watching a Netflix documentary, and his name came up on there. Like, that shit was so crazy. I was just like, well, she recognized it. And I'm like, I sent him a picture because I didn't think that was him. And it was him. I was like, it was just crazy to me that he did that. Like, it's just funny. Like, what are the odds that of all the times I've been on here, maybe I've seen it before, didn't see it, but I would literally watch this documentary the next day after working with him. Like, that was just hilarious. So yeah. Trying to think what else happened that day. We had the shoot. I think that was pretty much it. We ended it. Next, I'm really excited to see how it came out. I'm really, really excited to see how it came out. So another thing about the shoot too, why it was kind of weird, and this kind of, I feel like maybe this is why I wasn't as natural in the beginning with the podcast. Maybe I was hot because I'm not sweating now. I'm wearing a shirt. But we had interview questions, right? And the interview questions, I feel like my beard is in my face. The interview question that we had, we did 2 parts of interviews, right? We did 2 parts because there was a lot of noise during the first half of the interview. So when we stopped, we moved to a different location that had less noise. And I was having problems with the first interview questions because I was being authentic and I was speaking from my heart when they were asking me questions, right? And the problem with that is, in that style of interviewing, is that my answers would be too long, right? So they were telling me to, like, hey, can you like condense that into like a shorter thing, right? Then they were like, okay, because I would speak in a long form, I guess, interview style, I use a lot more words, or I would use a lot more examples. I would be very specific with what I'm talking about. But for that interview style they wanted, it was more so like bullet point type thing. So like 3 questions. Can you give me a tissue, please? Like a tissue, like a paper from toilet tissue.
Oh, those are the soft ones.
What?
Those.
Paper towel?
Mm-hmm. They're not. Those are the cheap ones. So they're soft.
Oh, okay. I'm gonna cut this. I'm about to put like a blur over my face while I do this. So I'm doing the interview, and they're pretty old. I have to think of my notes, make sure nothing came out that you can like see. Okay. And the problem, like I said, is that I'm being very specific with my answers, and they wanted to be more bullet points. So an example would be, how do you feel about riding a bike, right? Now, I would respond with, look, riding a bike is perfectly fine in the city as long as you know what you're doing. Honestly, no, I wouldn't respond like that. That's how I would respond if I was doing bullet point answers, right? I don't talk like that. That's not how I speak. Because like I said, I speak from the heart. So when you ask me that, I'm literally speaking from how I feel about it. I'm speaking from here. But what they wanted me to do was speak more from my brain, right? So, and my brain is more so, I'm not gonna say logical or analytical, it's just more structured when I speak from my brain, right? But the problem I have with speaking from my brain is that it's not as authentic, because I feel like if I had to think about what I'm saying, I view it as a form of manipulation. Now, I'm not saying that that's true or that's how everybody is. I'm saying that when I think of, if I'm talking to somebody and I'm thinking, okay, what am I gonna say to them? My brain takes that as, I guess because I know how the outcome could be when I do that, I see it as manipulation. So I don't really like doing that. So I just speak. I just speak just to speak and just keep going and just let it go. So during the first half of the interview, they were just kind of like, okay, well, you're talking kind of a lot, can you like condense it? Can you kind of phrase it? Like I said, how you like riding a bike? I think riding a bike is good in the city if you know what you're doing. That's how they want you to respond. They want you to respond like that. So that they can then go and, I guess, put it together or manipulate it in a way for them to be able to make a documentary out of it. So we had some issues with that in the beginning. It wasn't like a lot of or horrible issues. It was just, I don't think I was getting a bullseye on the questions. And that to me, that's not, if I'm not in the 95% percentile, it's like, then you're not really, you trash. You're not really doing it right. So the second half of the interviews, I decided that while we were setting up, or before we set up, I looked at the questions that they had for the second half and I wrote down my answers in my phone, right? So then when I actually got to the questions that they were asking me, I already had a template in my mind, or a framework in my mind of how I was going to answer the question. So it's a lot easier for me to answer it. And then I already knew that they wanted me to be shorter with it. So I was able to change my inflection at the end of the sentence so that you notice about the end, as opposed to talking from my heart and kind of letting it just go out like kind of like music. So once I did that, every time I talk, they would just like thumbs up. They were like, okay, that's good, that was good, that was good. But like I said, to me, it's just a personal thing that it doesn't seem as authentic to me. And like I said before, I know what they were looking for. So I'm like, okay, I know what words to use that will make you guys enjoy the content that I'm giving you. So I was able to talk about that. And as I did that, I was also able to weave in some emotion in there so that it was able to still have some of that authenticity in it. So like I said, they ended up liking that a lot. They really enjoyed the second half of the interview. They liked it. I was okay with it. And my overall view of the ad campaign is that it's cool to do, especially if you're working with somebody that enjoys their work like the cinematographer did. I don't really know if I would work with the other lady again. I don't think I would, just because our personalities don't match, and it's just not something. We just don't click because of that fear thing. And I wouldn't be able to feel comfortable around her because I wouldn't know. She might change out of nowhere on being fearful of something or scared of this or scared of that. So I would kind of just be like, yeah, I don't think I would do that. And I would rather be in a position where I'm the company hiring or I'm shooting the whole film. That way, like I said earlier, I have the leverage to make the decisions of what's going on, or at least be in the know of what's supposed to happen, as opposed to having somebody like her try and direct me and tell me like, oh, we're doing this. Oh, nope, we're not doing that. Now we're doing this. So I definitely want to have that going forward. So I think I'll have a lot of fun doing it again. Especially like I said, if I had a cinematographer, and honestly, the whole crew, I had a lot of fun with everybody that wasn't her. To be honest with you, like everybody that wasn't her, I enjoyed being around, and nothing is wrong with her either. It's not like she's a bad person. I don't think she's a bad person. I just think that her lifestyle choices don't match with mine. That's it. I don't think she was trying to be mean or racist or rude or anything like that. She seemed like a nice person when we weren't necessarily talking like in the constructs of the shoot. She seemed very cool. But like I said, when it comes to the work environment, maybe because she wanted to get the job, I don't know how the coronavirus affected her financially. So maybe it was very important to her. She wanted to be a certain way. I don't know how these things are. But I just know that she came off a certain way that made me feel uncomfortable. And I don't like to be around people that make me feel uncomfortable. Like my goal is from this podcast, is to have a life where I can just go out and live it and not have to worry about being uncomfortable. Like I heard Warren Buffett say yesterday in one of his interviews, he was just like, anybody that makes his stomach turn, he doesn't have to work with them. He's like, I'm already rich. He's like, why would I work with anybody that I don't have to if I'm rich? Like, why would I do that? That's me. I want to be that. I want to be like, no, you make me uncomfortable. No, I don't want to be around you. I don't have to. I'm not going to. So that's how I would go with that. Which is, like I said, which is why I want to start investing into properties and investing into stocks. Like I told myself that I was going to actually, at the end of April, which is going to be tomorrow or the day after tomorrow, I am going to, for the first time ever, open up a legitimate investment account. Part 2 will be dropping on Saturday later this week.